Replay is sponsored by Brancalonia.
Brancalonia is the all-Italian setting for the 5th edition of the world's most popular fantasy role-playing game. Set in a topsy-turvy version of medieval Italy, this unheroic, picaresque, and roguish world quotes, collects, and mixes references from contemporary Italian fiction and pop culture. You get the likes of the wooden puppet from Pinocchio, the half-demon Malebranche from Dante's Inferno, or even the Puss in Boots, some even as playable species. Spaghetti Fantasy is a low-magic, gritty fantasy with little money for special effects, whose atmosphere is very similar to spaghetti western movies, but with swords instead of guns. The tone is lighthearted, its protagonists are neither heroes nor anti-heroes. They are knaves with little will to fight, chicken thieves, bandits with a heart of gold. After triumphing at the Emmy Awards in Indianapolis, gold for Best Electronic Book, silver for Product of the Year, Best Writing and Best Setting, the fantastic world of Brancalonia returned to Kickstarter with 3 new volumes at the community's request. The Bounty Kingdom Gazetteer, the Spaghetti Fantasy Bestiary, including recipes for cooking monster meat and managing its side effects, and a compendium of adventures. Intrigued? Play Brancalonia and other Acheron games like Lex Arcana and Inferno on Start Playing Games, October 1922.
Oh man, Rory, you look great. It feels great, doesn't it?
It's not as bad as it looked.
Okay, then we're all on board. Well, guys, welcome back to the world of the Water Bearers. And as I say that, the front doors fling open and you just hear the roar of a boat in the harbor as you can see down into the town square that kind of wraps like a crescent around this beautiful aqua harbor that just twinkles in the distance, at 100 sails from 100 ships can be seen out floating in the bay. We're here, guys. We're actually here.
I think it's just a quiet sort of chuckle from Lucas. It's just like, I haven't thought about this place in years.
Are you ready to get started?
You mean there's more?
There's so much more. And I pull out another cheat token, hurl it to the ground, and a puff of dramatic purple smoke swirls up around me in this like little tornado of sparkles and pink and purple glitter and sparks, and then just all falls as if the energy collapsed and I'm gone. A moment later, the cries start up from the town square. Cries of fear and pain and hunger and rage.
Well, that's not good.
What did he do now?
Did he do that?
And then Deliria, in your head, the Deep One speaks.
They're always so dramatic.
And then warning bells start going off all over the city as terrified citizens begin streaming out of the town square.
My name is Haley, my pronouns are she, any, and I am playing Rory, the Fool.
My name is Jen De La Vega. My pronouns are she, her, and I am playing Fern, the Dictator.
My name is Alex, my pronouns are he, him, and I am playing Andrea, or Andrea, the Emotion Knight.
My name is Banana Chan. My pronouns are she, they, and he, and I'm playing Deliria, the Godbinder.
My name is Kappa. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm playing Lucas, the Neo.
And my name is Aram. My pronouns are he, him, and I am playing Jacob, the Master. Welcome to our first Dead Ghost production, Replay. We met while we were in our teens and started playing and recording an original fantasy story that we broadcast over our local public radio station. The show exploded in popularity, but crashed and burned in the middle of its 2nd season. with some bitterness and estrangement between us, we reunite at a convention on the show's 20-year anniversary to play one more game for the hardcore fans. The tone of this game is dark fantasy. Our personas will confront their past regrets, fight old enemies, remember old grudges, and make hard choices in a world where it's difficult to tell if there's always a right thing to do. The world is frightening and full of challenges, but they may be overcome if you fight hard enough and are willing to make sacrifices.
The characters that we are creating are called personas. They are the real-world flawed people with issues. The fantasy archetypes that they gain the powers of are the Paragons. So we're not playing two separate characters each, we're playing a persona who gets the powers of the Paragon.
Only name the persona. So if your persona's name is Jeff, the superhero you play in the game is also Jeff. They're Jeff the Emotion Knight.
Oh yeah, Jeff.
Makes it nice and easy.
Okay, right now I have a Fern, a Lucas, a Rory, a Deliria, an Andrea, and a Jacob.
I'm going to ask 3 types of questions to help us establish our characters and the game. I'm going to ask questions for all of you to answer. I'm going to ask questions that I direct towards one of you, but expect the whole group to chime in. And then I'm going to ask questions specifically of your characters. A happier time. These questions are for everyone. What was our high school like?
Where were we located?
As in geographically?
Good question.
Yes, so it was a suburb, a city, or...
Beach town.
Ooh.
Ooh, beach town.
So we grew up on 90210. West Coast, East Coast, Florida, Texas. Which area, which vibe are we getting?
You know, not uneventful, slower than your big city, but also not like your suburbs where every house looks the same.
Is it a particularly big beachy town? Is it a...
Santa Cruz.
Describe Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz it's odd. It has the spirit of a big city, but everything moves just a little bit slower. During the summers, there's a lot of tourism involved. So you meet a lot of people. But once autumn hits and goes into winter, the community does feel smaller. Tighter, even.
I love that. Everyone go with that?
Yeah.
We should probably change the name of it. Well, at least come up with a name for the school.
What is the name and mascot of our high school?
Ooh.
A shark?
Oh, I love sharks.
Sharks, perfect.
I was gonna say, do beach towns do that thing where they lean into ocean animals? Because I'm from the Midwest, and the Midwest loves to just think of animals that live in the Midwest, and that's every mascot.
I love the sharks. So we are the...
Any president's name, right? That's
Yeah.
how most schools are named.
What's a president's name that has good alliteration with shark?
Oh,
I mean, I
God.
was going to say Reagan, but that's for different reasons.
No, I'm sorry. Hard veto on Reagan.
I was gonna say Obama,
The Obama sharks?
The Obama sharks.
When is the high school scene set in, though? Would it have Obama as a reference?
It would be set in the year 2000.
Okay.
In fact, it was named after Sherman. They renamed it after
They named it to
Obama.
Obama.
I love that.
There we go.
The mascot is Sherman the Shark, and it's the only remnant of the previous name of the school.
Yes.
There was a big uproar when it all happened. All the merch had to get changed.
The kids were 100% behind it.
I mean, the kids loved it.
My real high school did change mascots because it was racist before.
Oh, wow.
My real high school's mascot is the shark.
Love.
No kidding. Speaking of which, let's talk about Bleed. This is from the Bleed section on page 145 of the Die RPG rulebook. Games exist in a magic circle. You're not the character you embody. If I stab and kill you in game, it's not because of my personal enmity to you. It's my character's personal enmity to your character. Bleed, as coined by Emily Care Boss, is what happens when the emotion of one crosses into the other. This is neither a good nor bad thing. Some people actively chase bleed to process, play with, or experience intense emotions. It's also unavoidable, as our brains don't always know the difference between imaginary threats and real threats. Okay, it has been 20 years since we were at school. How did our little gaggle get together?
I mean, if we were involved with the radio station, maybe we were separately either listening or a fan club, or we're DJs ourselves separately.
The radio station is a big pull. Like, it's cool with the kids. It's kind of retro in the year 2000, but like people like doing it. It's kind of a coveted slot. So I could see you all like getting into it for various reasons. When I invited you to the game, I'm going to ask all of you individually, why did you decide to go? Let's start with Banana. Is it Deliria?
Yes, it's Deliria. My actual name is Danielle, but now that I'm a little bit older, I have a new persona. Well, now that might be a little bit confusing, but my now name is Deliria.
Why did you decide to come back to the game?
I wanted to see if I could learn anything from my peers from before. Obviously, we haven't spoken in a very long time. I do have an MLM that I've started, and I just wanted to see if there, anyone who'd be interested in joining my new business venture.
Alex, why did Andrea decide to join this reunion?
I think this is probably a good moment to bring out the name of my persona, which is technically Andrea, but we'll go by Andrea if you call them that. Andrea is he, they. And Andrea, I think, was younger than everyone else. Andrea was probably when everyone was finishing high school, Andrea was just starting high school, and Andrea found out about the show later. Andrea collected the show. Andrea just heard about it, wasn't involved in it, and Andrea became the fan. Andrea was the biggest fan. Andrea, to this day, is the biggest fan. Andrea will tell you that you are wrong if you like literally any other show from any time. That you like The Lost Boys, you're gonna love this show. It has nothing to do with it, but you're gonna love it.
You're one of the reasons the show exists, because you saved recordings of it. Stuff that we would have lost, you actually still have. And that's why there's been a resurgence in popularity, because you helped get the podcast versions ready.
Digitized, yeah.
So the reason that Andrea came to the show is that this is the first time that he can be with everyone. He's wanted this his whole life. That's not ominous at all.
Haley, why did Rory say yes?
I think that Rory was a theater kid, TM, like the theater kid, but is one of those former theater kids without a outlet for performance in adult life. Rory probably still calls herself a theater kid, and she's not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
Just is so excited for the idea of performing anything at all in front of other people, getting looked at and being appreciated for that skill. Too excited, I'm sure.
Awesome. Jen, tell us about Fern, is that correct?
Fern said yes because she wants to come out into the world. She actually stayed at the radio station as the voice of the weather. And everybody knows her voice around town, but has never really seen her because she's always in the radio station. So she thought maybe it's time to come out.
Step out from behind the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and last but not least, Kappa, why did Lucas come back?
Any other day, any other week, Lucas would have said no, but caught in a moment of weakness and nostalgia, wants to go back, reminisce. In particular, home, Sherman High School, is where he felt last closest to his brother. That's one of the main motivations to go back, among others, but that was what set him off to make the decision like, okay, yes, I will do this. I will go back.
What convention is the live reunion taking place at? It doesn't have to be a real one.
SharkCon. SharkCon.
It's got to be about TTRPGs, unless we're just going to show up at SharkCon because our high school mascot happened to be a shark.
Big Bag Shark Con.
Jump the con.
I mean, what if it was?
Role players love sharks. Come on, wrong.
You know what? It can be. Maybe
it happens during Shark Week. That's why it has to be Shark Con.
Okay, so what did we do in the story that was centered? How was the story centered around sharks?
Maybe it's not necessarily about sharks. It's that the town is celebrating a historical moment, and it's like alumni, people have moved away, famous people from this area.
The town has SharkCon every year and has had SharkCon every year, and it's always been like a local festival. But then they got Jacob to set up this reunion game, and they did not expect the amount of people that showed up.
It's too crowded.
Right, so there's this weird extra crowd at SharkCon now, which are all TTRPG nerds.
Yes.
Granted, there's some crossover. There's a lot of crossover, but mainly from our side and not from their side. Banana, your persona Deliria was the writer for the show. They wrote a comic book based on the original show that was very popular and had some core ideas for the original broadcast. What was your original narrative for the show? What was your original arc that you had planned, or the lessons you wanted it to teach?
I think the story was about a group of ragtag teenagers who had somehow found themselves with special abilities, and they need to avenge the Earth from an oncoming alien invasion, and they successfully protect the Earth in doing so, meanwhile causing several different spin-off shows.
Perfect. Rory, where did we play and record the game?
I like to think we played and recorded at the school. There was probably a room that we used that we sort of fitted out with what we needed. Like the AV club already had a room with the equipment. We just took it over sometimes. They were cool with it. Pretty cool with everything. There's not a huge rush on the room. Although in the year 2000, probably more of a rush on the room than in my time. So yeah, I could see having to at first you had to fight for time, but as the show got popular, everything got easier. You just got more and more access. The school actually got donations over the show. So, I mean, this worked out for everyone. Better equipment came in. Absolutely. It was for us. Absolutely. Fern, we had a guest for season 1. You're the guest for season 2. How were you approached to be on the show?
I was just filing paperwork at the radio station and, dropped a huge sheaf of papers. And, the next broadcast was starting, and I just happened to be on the floor still, putting things away. And everybody knows who I am. I'm always around the station, but I don't really do music. I just do the weather.
So you were available.
I was just around, yeah.
Awesome.
You might have had someone popular booked before,
right,
but Fern is always going to be at the radio station.
Andrea, what was your biggest contribution to the show's fandom?
Andrea will take credit for the existence of the fandom. Depends on how, the actual extent of that is yet to be confirmed, but he definitely digitized all the tapes. He found the recordings, digitized the tapes, and decided that, someone should listen to this. Unspecified how he got it broadcast, but he did.
Writer, Deliria. What are Deliria's pronouns, and could you please describe Deliria?
Yes. Deliria's pronouns are she and her. She wears a white gown, and she likes to wear like white flowy dresses all the time. Sometimes she has like crystal necklaces. Her rings are covered in silver jewelry. Her fingers are covered in silver jewelry.
Rings upon rings.
Yeah, rings upon rings, just like stacks of rings. You know those like stackable rings? She has those. She has long flowing hair, has different colors in it. I think occasionally she would be seen like carrying a book. She hasn't read it. She just like has it on her.
Congratulations, Deliria. You're the creator of a very successful fantasy comic book based on the world. What is it called?
It is called... This is very hard for me to think of something.
Could we come up with the name of the world, maybe? That might help.
That would be amazing.
Do you guys want to wait on the name of the world? We can just start thinking of ideas. Anyone, if they get a real strong feeling, kick it out, and we can always jump into it. We'll put a pin in that one now. What is your greatest strength as a writer?
I think my greatest strength as a writer is just that I'm so creative and original. Like everything that I make comes from myself, truly, and no other writer has the ability to craft something so special because it truly does come from the heart.
Such a good answer. All right. Kappa. What are Lucas's pronouns? And could you please describe Lucas?
Lucas uses he, him pronouns. And Lucas likes to keep up with various fashion trends, but then take it back to a more grounded approach. You know, doesn't want to seem like I'm trying. You know, I don't want to seem like I'm trying too hard. It needs to look effortless.
It's important that Lucas wears the clothes. The clothes don't wear him.
Exactly. And so most days you can see Lucas in comfortable trainers, jeans, but sometimes the pattern, like they're various colors or plaid or argyle pants, you know, very form-fitting, various members only jackets or bomber jackets, or, you know, very it's rare that he's just out in a t-shirt and jeans, but when he does, it's like it works.
It's a perfect t-shirt and the perfect jeans. How many TikToks does Lucas have where he tosses a shoe in the air, kicks it, and then it hard cuts to 5 outfits?
Lucas takes credit for that trend.
Lucas takes credit for transitions in general. Lucas was the first one to really use transitions in Lucas's mind, and then takes credit for all transitions.
Pretty much.
But he's humble about it.
Yeah, I can't mention it, but I try and keep people around me who will mention it.
Nice.
Fantastic. The group fell apart, but you personally got what you wanted. You're the breakout star. But something core was not achieved. Something you really hoped for. What was that?
My character never found catharsis or resolution. I was picked up by a studio before we could finish that season, and it was either, you know, go off and take on this opportunity or finish out this season. And everyone was encouraging me to go follow my dreams and that they would be supportive.
Get paid.
And they just found they had to work around that.
Does Lucas care about role-playing games?
I think I deep down I do. It's just been so long that I've been part of a game, a campaign, a group that I really, really cared about. So when I enter in to, you know, session zeros and like work sessions, I'm distant because a lot of this hasn't resonated with me. So deep down I do, but it's really difficult to convey that.
Is part of the reason why you're here to maybe find that again?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Haley. What are Rory's pronouns? And please describe Rory.
She, her for pronouns. I think Rory is like really tall, was always kind of like gangly, and still hasn't really grown into it somehow.
As someone who has spent 47 years like that, trust me, I understand.
I think that Rory was a much weirder kid and then ended up in like marketing and sales and has fully thrown herself into fitting that role and performing that aspect of adulthood and professional life. So like she's got real long, like light brown hair, doesn't do anything interesting with it, just keeps it braided back, wears a lot of like irons her clothes and keeps them all nice, wears like 5-inch heels, gets even taller. She's like 6'7" with the heels. It's not necessary. But when you're trying to pull in like, it's like hyper femme boss bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what Rory looks like.
You hit a certain note because that note makes you money.
Yep. And it works. And other people complimented me for it. And then they paid me about it. And that's my life now.
I love that. That's perfect. Rory spun the success of the comic into an indie publishing gig, company, whatever you're currently doing. You got the role because you were so amazing at this. You are the host of the show. Everyone treated you as if the narrative came from you, even though it was really from the table, right? And more specifically, from Deliria. What is the name of the company you own and or work for?
I could go real mean with it.
Please do.
Please do.
Yes, please.
Go.
Is it Delirium Inc.? Please tell me it's Delirium Inc.
I was going to call it Delirium Tremendous.
Yes.
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 Yes, please do.
Love
Yes.
this.
Yeah, it's Delirium Tremendous. That's my that's my company.
In the spirit of that answer, why do you own the rights to the comic and not Deliria?
That's such a great question.
Thank you for asking.
Because I shouldn't. However, I've spent 20 years saying that I do and I should. So the point is less why do I and why should I, and more I just do. I have said that I do, and I've convinced everyone that I do, and it's mine.
9/10 of the law is possession.
I published it. You can take it to court if you want. But I think you'll find me and all my lawyers say that it is my story. I'm so sorry.
To raise the stakes of this beef a little bit more,
I'm so sorry.
do you mind?
No, I don't. I even know what the question is. It's yes.
Do you mind calling my character Danielle instead of Deliria the entire time?
I will never address you as Deliria.
Yo.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's my childhood friend Danielle. Isn't she cute? Anyway.
Amazing.
She's got this cute little business
Oh
she's
my
doing.
God.
We're 3 questions in. Y'all each other's throats. I love it.
So much meaner than I meant to go.
I love this. Oh, it's so good.
I'm so excited.
Perfect. Because Jen, you're up next. Fern is our second season guest. What are their pronouns and what do they look like?
Fern goes by she, her. And in high school, it's like her grandma dressed her. She wore a lot of like long tweed skirts with like kind of billowy white shirts. And she kind of kept that vibe going, kind of like librarian bank teller vibe. Her hair is curly and short. It was jet black growing up, but, you know, as she got older, and she looks a lot older than she actually is, maybe 10 years older than she actually is.
She's always looked a lot older than she is. She just looks a little older now.
Yeah, and so she's got maybe 2 gray, like, curly streaks in there, but it's still chin length, very respectable, but she's, you know, Michelle Pfeiffer before Catwoman, or never got scratched by the cat, you know what I'm saying?
That is such a great visual image.
It's so good.
Thank you.
Fern, you're the co-creator of the comic, supplying the art for Deliria's words. What medium do you work in?
Fern works in watercolor.
You were the second guest on the show. Who was the first, and why does no one talk about them?
What was her name? Naomi. The most popular girl at school. We thought that would get us a lot of listeners. And it did for a moment, but she was a terror, didn't respect any of our boundaries, would throw things when roles didn't go her way. And it was just better to not invite her back.
Andrea?
It's Andrea, actually, but it's okay, sorry. Jacob, it's sorry.
Sorry, pardon me. Andrea, what are your persona's pronouns? And could you describe them, please?
In high school, it was he, him. And since then, it's been he, they. They're experimenting. But also, and please, people, please tell me off if you'd rather not. It's the kind of problematic male thing of changing the pronouns to they, them, just to appear a little less problematic. Is the vibe I'm going with.
Love this.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very much a type of guy I know, but also if we don't want that broadcast, that's fine. It's not full they, them, but it's, yeah, like starting to paint their nails and probably called himself metrosexual at some point, unironically.
We all know this dude.
We all know this guy.
I think half of us have dated this dude.
The same guy. The same guy.
Yeah.
Just traveled around the country to each of us. Yeah.
Paints his nails, but it's only black and really doesn't keep it up. He doesn't want to look like he cares about it or anything.
Andrea used to have kind of like mousy brown hair, he probably went through a phase of frosted tips because it's a beach town and he just thought that's how he should fit in.
Mandatory.
I think Andrea is probably from... His family would call themselves expats. Definitely not migrants. Definitely not migrants. And he never really knew the difference until he realized the difference, and he chose to ignore the fact that his family was like that. And he was kind of like smallish probably on the chubby side, and then decided to project the persona. Like he went into he's done everything. He's been the gym rat. He's done CrossFit. He's done calisthenics. He's done parkour. He's never done it for more than maybe a month, but he tried mapping all of it on social media, just like broadcasting it in a way that Lucas makes it so effortless. And Andrea was kind of like a week behind because clearly he was waiting to see what Lucas would do next and just copy it.
What percentage of Andrea's TikToks are reply videos to Lucas?
They're stitches. They're not replies.
Of course. Pardon me. Who was the first show cast member you met in person, and how and where did you meet them?
It wasn't Lucas. I think Lucas, Andrea always knew where Lucas was.
Everyone knows where Lucas is.
But never met him in person.
There's a daily post.
It was probably Fern. It was probably Fern, just because Fern was still at the radio station when Andrea kind of came in and found the tapes. Andrea might have found the tapes thanks to Fern without Fern realizing what Andrea was doing with them.
As for me, my persona's name is Jacob. Jacob is thin, wears glasses, is bald. Some would say he's a cross between Jim Rash and Stanley Tucci. He's nervous and fidgets and struggles with arthritis and is in no way a stand-in for myself.
Uh-huh.
I think we all know this guy. I think we've all met someone like this.
We've all met this guy.
We've all met a guy like this.
I've been on a podcast with somebody like that.
Is that the guy we dated?
No one's dated him, but everyone knows him. Jacob works for Vibe, the largest streaming service and podcast host on the internet. He has no creative control over his projects. He just directs AI to cut out pauses and drop in corporate, peppy background music. Everything he touches is commercial in nature. He arrives to work in jeans and a blazer over a black Vibe t-shirt. His glasses are thin, dark gray rectangles with orange hinges that perfectly match the Vibe logo.
It's just it's Subway from Community. It's Vibe made persona.
back up to Deliria.
Yes.
What was the worst thing about working with me? I was the producer on this show. That was my role, and I was also a cast member. What was the worst thing about working with me?
I think at the time, oh, by the way, I thought of a name for the comic.
Hit me.
The Water Bearers. What does everyone think? Is everyone okay with that?
Oh, I do
I was
like
thinking like
that.
Aquarius.
Yeah, nice.
We're like, by the sea.
Hell yeah.
And I think the worst part about working with you was that we always had to sell something. We always had a sponsor that we had to acknowledge. And I wouldn't mind that if it weren't for the fact that every single sponsor was for like socks, right? So it was always like the specific sock company that didn't really pay us that much, but paid you a lot
Right.
for some strange reason. And you convinced us it was okay because it was a mutual transaction. This was like, definitely worth it. But we didn't see a lot of the money. So
I always had some excuse about a production budget or a new piece of gear or whatever, but
Yeah.
no one saw the money. Yeah, that is the worst thing. That's bad. Why does Deliria secretly respect the listener, Andrea?
there's something about Andrea's energy, which I really enjoy. I feel like we would mesh really well, but I don't want to tell Andrea this, right? Because I honestly feel like if I give away too much of myself, it's just going to be like a weird type of scenario, and I don't want to do that with my fans.
Someone might come along and steal everything you made.
No one would ever do that.
No, of course not. Water Bearers is your big hit, your only hit. Why?
I think at the time I wrote it, I didn't actually write it. I think that I might have actually gotten a ghostwriter to do it, edited it a little bit to inject my own flavor into it. The ghostwriter turned out to be a very successful writer later on, but this was something that I never told anyone else.
I love that. Okay. Lucas, you were the last person to speak with Naomi, our first guest. What did they say to you, and why does it haunt you?
We drew straws to tell Naomi that, oh, you were just a guest for season 1. And I drew the short straw. That was our last conversation. And Naomi said something that haunts me because she basically called me out on all of my insecurities, everything that would lead me down this path. Every time I'd celebrate a new accomplishment or new casting or something like that, it rings back to what she told me because it's true. Weirdly true.
Nothing sucks like being told the truth.
She read me like a children's book.
You have been on several live streams and shared a lot of gossip about your time on this podcast / radio show. What was the biggest secret you shared?
Ooh. I think the biggest secret I shared was some of it was scripted. Some of it we definitely play it off as, this is improv. This is just a bunch of kids just trying to.
We just all came up with it at the table.
Yeah. But I'm a big proponent of at least coming up with a structure. And that's because the biggest secret that we had with the show was every week or before every recording, we'd sit down and map out sort of the narrative, writer's table style. And that's something new that I've shared, something that I just felt bored and needed to shake up whatever questions were coming at me.
Jacob was always really insistent we keep that part quiet. He felt like the magic needed to be found in the audience not knowing. So I think, yeah. So he would have been most insistent on that. But as we drifted apart, you felt like, hey, this is a neat angle. And you always liked it. You pushed for the structure. We butted heads on that many times. And you were right. The show was better for it. But I still wanted to hide it.
You had too much faith in our ability to improv. And I wanted to be more honest about telling an interesting story takes planning, even if parts of it are made up on the spot. But I poisoned it and turned it into just some drama for people to follow.
And Andrea ate it up. Andrea launched 3 separate hashtags against each other. Actually, it was like hashtag was not scripted, hashtag it was all a lie.
Can I change my answer? I
Oh
think
my
that I
God.
like Andrea just because of that.
Just quietly liking every single post. All right, Rory,
I think, sorry, before you go to Rory, I think I have a name for the world if people want.
Ooh.
let's hear it.
Aquarion?
I like Aquarion.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world of Aquarion.
Rory, why did you fire Jacob?
That's so interesting because I think the obvious answer would be that Jacob was like too corporate. But I think the real thing is he was too obvious about being corporate. He fell into it so hard and he went into it so hard that it got really hard to spin what he was doing into like a fun, positive thing that we can all support and love. And it was like, no, he wants money. Well, he's doing it because he wants money. And don't we all? But
I would sacrifice anything. I would
Right.
let them I was like trying to let people name characters for money and get plot points for
we will
money.
put your company into the world.
Every single PC wears socks. And the socks,
Yes,
specifically
Oh, God,
one brand
yeah.
of socks.
100%. There's a sock maker in the game. We always stop by for some reason.
Not the cobbler, the sock maker, yeah.
In Rory's opinion, what is Lucas's greatest weakness that they just can't admit?
I guess Lucas's greatest weakness to Rory is that he doesn't change. He is at his core the exact same person he was in high school. And that person has always been like on top of trends and on top of what's going on. But I don't know, like it doesn't seem like he ever grew up. I think to Rory that is Lucas's greatest weakness. And also, God, how jealous. Oh, how jealous. Oh, seething with rage.
So completely comfortable in their own skin. How fucking
how
dare they?
absolute
Yeah.
dare he not have to change?
Oh, it'd be infuriating.
He was happy and he stayed that way, that monster.
How dare you stay happy?
Do you see me right now and you are out there living your dreams?
No, I don't. I don't see you right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh.
You have started casting a reboot of the original show, and only one other person knows about it. Who knows and why?
Boy, it's probably Lucas, and it's probably because I've reached out to him to be on it.
Of course,
Name recognition.
you can't replace Lucas.
Can't replace Lucas. If we want it to do well, I love you all so dearly. He's the one on other people's billboards or whatever. I don't know what Lucas does.
No one else has 1 million followers on TikTok. Only Lucas does.
Exactly.
Vibe talk.
Vibe talk. Yes, of course it is.
No.
Vibe took over everything. Okay, so in my head, Vibe is if Apple chose to be Spotify. Okay, that's how
Oh,
big
okay.
of a company I see this as. Okay, they got into podcasting and streaming early, got their hooks in early, and just dominated from the beginning. And that's how I see this company kind of evolving, this mega conglomerate that just sucks in every podcast and makes them the same and puts the same ads in front of all of them. Spotify on steroids.
Ugh.
Fern, when did your art start getting worse?
I think it was at the apex of Jacob's capitalist tendencies. You know, it was everybody had freaking socks that she had to paint.
The third round of notes where I'm like, look, you've got to highlight the logo, and that was just it.
Not enough socks, can't see the logo in watercolor. You need to get in there and do pointillism. She didn't get paid for this. This was for funsies. And so it just started to get worse because she didn't want to spend time with it. She would have a physical reaction when she got an email from Jacob.
Why haven't you and Rory spoken since the show fell apart?
Fern was a guest, and I think she never saw herself as part of the main cast, though her guest spots were welcome and, you know, moderately appreciated by the audience. She just didn't really feel like she belonged anyway. She was older. She worked at the radio station.
You were already in your early 20s. They were all like 17, 18.
Yeah, and what's funny is the equivalent of, her portfolio, it's just syndicated weather service, this show, and then more syndicated weather service. The one creative thing.
The Water Bearers went on to become a huge success, but you got nothing from it. Why not? And how do you feel about that?
Fern wasn't much for contracts. Didn't think to ask about a split because she thought it would just be assumed because the radio station runs on a nonprofit, fundraiser every year. So she always thought she would get some kind of stipend. Just handshake like, oh yeah, take care of me around the spring. But it never happened. And because her life is so simple and she doesn't need much, she never thought to question it.
What did you all love about playing the game? And what did you hate about playing the game?
I think in a way, the game allowed us to be like impersonating another character, putting in some fantasy world or something. For some reason, doing that allowed us to be fully authentic of ourselves.
In high school, a way to let down your walls with each other is quite a thing. It is at any time, but when you're so confused,
with all the hormones going on, with all the pressures you got like it, you need that space was unheard of.
Replay is sponsored by Adventure Dice. Adventure Dice is your Canadian source for dice, role-playing game books, and accessories, and other tabletop gaming goodies. Many of our products are handcrafted in Canada. We're dedicated to creating gaming spaces that are safe, accessible, and welcoming to everyone. As gamers ourselves, we believe in offering quality products that we would use at our own table. Find us at your friendly local gaming store, at conventions, and online at www.adventuredice.ca. Lucas, at the time you showed contempt towards the Water Bearers, what was your biggest complaint?
They found a way to write my character out. No, wait, other way around. Instead of writing my character out, they kept it in.
Always mentioning him though.
Oh, yes, they just it became a DM NPC.
Yeah.
And that did not sit well with you.
It just felt like something that was supposed to be me is wholly not me.
Yeah, all my decisions were wrong. You didn't like any of them.
Well, not necessarily all my decisions were wrong. It's the reasoning behind them were off. Did not feel authentic to how I wanted my character to be portrayed.
You were of the understanding that you were going to step out and maybe could come back later, and your character would kind of be put on a shelf for you.
Yeah.
And that's not what happened, and you feel kind of betrayed by that.
Yeah.
Fern, you had one awesome foundational idea for the water bearers. What was it?
The big details. Water bearers, Aquarion. Okay.
I'm picturing kind of a Waterworld-esque, or at least like bunch of fantasy islands via One Piece kind of thing. Like I'm picturing like an ocean-based game.
Yeah, I think maybe we had, like, the previous season ended in a devastating battle, and the new boon was the mode of transportation.
We were all going to save the world after season 1. Your idea was to not save the world. Let it flood, let it transform, and then take the story there in season 2.
Like, maybe we've won the battle, but the war is still going.
We won the battle, but at what cost? We ruined half the world just to save the rest of it.
Love.
I love that.
Love.
Andrea, you considered someone on the Water Bearers your mentor. Who were they, and what did you learn?
The easy answer that Andrea will give is obviously that he looks up to Lucas. No, he wouldn't say that. That is what he actually feels. Like, Andrea is very much like, oh, what Lucas does, that's what I want. I want that. But I think the actual mentor might be Fern. Like the cataloging, the categorizing, the archiving, keeping everything in such a way, even if it's not a mentorship through doing, but a mentorship through learning from how Fern works at the radio station, learning from how Fern contributed all of these major ideas to the storyline and never took any credit. But then Andrea did it the other way around, took the other ideas and took the credit for the fandom. It's like, oh yeah, this is stuff that I found from digging in the archives. No one helped me. And Fern never said anything.
She wouldn't.
So you learned how to steal. Is that what you learned?
What Andrea learned from Fern was how to keep it all organized in such a way that it would run smoothly with minor effort. Like, no surprises, no, like, if things go wrong, they don't.
Rory, you had a firm goal of what you wanted this group to achieve, or at least where you wanted them to be. What was it?
This group, like in the story, or like as people making things together?
Whichever one or both.
I think firm goal, what I wanted was for the story we were telling to get a conclusion. That is what I wanted. However it had to happen, it has to end. You can't just leave somebody in the middle.
And we did not do that. We left him with like 3 cliffhangers, and we're like, yeah, we told a complete story, just like HBO did, right? Yeah, that's what happened. Deliria, the story you wrote about the Water Bearers is a faithful adaptation, but you left out one major thing. What did you write out, and why?
When I read the original manuscript, it had something that I had to remove from it. Actually, the proper ending of the story. I did not like it. I thought that like the fans would just not like it at all. And I didn't want it to end the way that it ended. And so wrote it out and made it as unsatisfying as it is now.
We didn't finish it, but because of Lucas, we had an outline. We had an agreed upon outline of where that story was going to go and where we all expected it to go. And you went, nope. And you provided what you did.
Yep.
Perfect. Perfect. All right, Rory, what are they like now?
What is Rory like now? Rory is busy. Rory is always on the move. Rory's always trying to do something else, something more. Always reaching out to other people who can give more to do, make busier, make bigger. Rory does not take a lot of time for herself.
Rory's always moving, because when
Yes.
you're moving, you're producing, and when you're producing, you're winning.
Exactly. I am winning and nobody can tell me otherwise when I don't talk to them.
Like a shark.
Yes, like a shark, exactly. Constantly moving forward, never stopping.
Or I'll die.
Andrea, what are they like now?
I think Andrea is probably very lonely. Like has very like big online family in that very has parasocial relationships with a lot of famous people online and doesn't actually have any personal life that they ever talk about. Hasn't really left name of town. Just kind of stayed there and just like has based their fandom empire is probably behind SharkCon organization.
Oh, you're totally on board. You volunteered for SharkCon every year and eventually just made it to the board from always being around.
That's why we invited everyone for this completely out of the blue TTRPG one session only.
No one understood it. There's all like these 60-year-old guys who run SharkCon. No one knew what the hell you were talking about, but you showed them numbers and they said, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
They'll all advertise SharkCon, right? Okay, great. Yep, we'll do it.
But otherwise, yeah, very much like this thing is his only thing. And he might get passionate about other things like that, but always finds a way of like connecting it back to the water bearers.
You needed stuff from Jacob, stuff that only Jacob has, maps, other things that you needed for like printed material, right? And you hassled him and he just kept blowing it off until finally you're like, look, I'll just come by your house and pick it up. So you came by, and Jacob lives in a small apartment that is mostly dedicated studio space to his recordings and his things, like the bed's kind of shoved off in the corner. Everything around the desk, everything within view, picture perfect, spotless. Everything around that is a cluttered mess. It's like this one little halo of false perfection in the middle of this unkempt, untidy, kind of sad life. Jacob has all of his worth in what he can make and none of his worth in himself. And everything is focused around making sure that shows online as cleanly as possible. He doesn't have a huge following or fandom like Lucas has. He just has a general persona of his professionalism. And that's all he has to cling to because nothing in his life is really there otherwise.
And I think Andrea was surprised. Andrea doesn't quite get, like, even though he portrays a different online personality from personal personality, private personality, I guess, didn't realize that other people can do that too.
Right.
I just walked into Jacob's place and it's just like, oh.
Deliria, what is their life like now?
She moved to another beachside town in Connecticut, and she has a family. It is lonely like Andrea, but a different kind of loneliness. It's a type of loneliness where, you know, she has kids, she has a family, but she doesn't really do anything outside of that. She has, you know, she works from home, but her business is focused around mama wear, and it's like a lot of that, trying to sell that style of fashion. And she's trying to always gain acceptance from like the people that are around her, but she'll never have that same acceptance that she did when she was back in, do we say that Santa Cruz is where or do we have like a fictional town?
We can make a fictional one, or we can say Santa Cruz. We can do either one, but Santa Cruz-esque is what we're saying right now.
On the West Coast. It's different from what she had in the West Coast.
Yes, certainly a Connecticut beach is very different from a Santa Cruz beach.
Yeah.
Lucas, what are they like now?
I think we've established that Lucas is very much unchanged from what he was like in high school.
If anything, just a little hotter, which is frustrating.
I think Rory has read Lucas pretty well, tries to be authentic. What's changed now is that Lucas has a publicist, and that allows him to, you know, who allows him to still engage with old shows and media and not have to worry about, I was going to say rent, but like everything beyond rent. An assistant, a life assistant.
Yeah, you've got like a personal assistant slash someone who posts into who takes Instagram pictures for you. You actually post them, but they take the photos of you.
I definitely understand trends, but they remind me to keep up with certain things or turn things to my eye.
They're doing the research.
Yeah, and I work 16-hour days, but most of it doesn't feel like work to me just because of how, for me, work is play. And so when I get home, I just shut off. I don't do anything related to streaming, TTRPG, whatever whatever I'm known for, because I get that feel, like that feel from my profession. So when I'm not working, I shut off and I'm a terrible hang. It's kind of shitty, because I don't want to, what people know me for, what people want to talk to me about is stuff that I view as work.
Don't talk to me about work when I'm not working.
Yeah, it's like if people want to talk to me about like, oh, what's the next system? I'm like, I don't know.
You're like the Harrison Ford of the group. You're like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, like I don't know. I let's go check out this donut shop.
If someone asks you about character direction, you're kind of into it. If someone comes up to you and says, so when you rolled 46 plus 14 in episode 5, you're like, I don't fucking know, kid. Why are you asking me this? And you do the convention circuit because you're so well known and it's so lucrative. But like 80 to 90% of the questions, you just don't care and you're tired of pretending like you do.
There's a website that will track all of that for me. There's they track all the stats of the shows. Depending on how big the show is, I'll go check that out. I just roll dice. It's like I just rolled the dice.
It's called the waterflowchart.com.
Oh my god. Get that domain now.
I know. I'll have to get it before we go live. Fern, what is she like now?
4 times a day, you can hear Fern on WKEY Morning Weather and Surf Report. Today, we've got 2 to 3 feet, fair weather waves, but it's going to be about 64 degrees in your wetsuit. Stay warm out there. She has grown in responsibility. She is the general manager of the radio station now. The school has sort of been a hybrid. It's half students and now half community members because it's become such a big part of the city, of the seaside town. So she helps manage, the different age groups that are interacting. It's very different. So she has like a little mentorship program where students get paired, for their first show, and then they get to graduate and do their own thing. But she has a very routine life. Does the weather 4 times a day, just always at the station as early as possible, is the last one to leave. She has the keys, and she just lives her quiet cottage life in town.
Are there any questions you all want to ask each other's characters, or you want to ask of Jacob?
How did Jacob act around Fern?
Interesting question. Okay, I think Jacob was very businesslike. You were all his friends, but you were all made to feel more like clients.
Oof.
So Jacob was fine, but never opened up, never really shared, got very excited about story elements, got real geeked about your art, but always in a very corporate way. Always like, hey, we could make this into a t-shirt. Hey, we could sell this on stickers and everyone will put it on their lockers. Boy, if you could isolate this from the background, man, I could put that on a skateboard. There was always that kind of thing.
Can you add more socks?
Yeah.
Again with the socks. Fern has created an alumni wall of all of you. She's always cutting out the magazine clippings, the newspaper clippings. She'll even print out from Google. She has Google alerts for all of you, and she very respectfully keeps it on the wall so that, all the new students know that you can be that successful.
You try so hard to keep it balanced, But like Lucas is always like a little bit heavier. It's like Jacob won some third place technical award, but Lucas just got their first Emmy. Like it's that level of difference, but it's all like presented equally.
It's like here's the wall of everyone, and then here's the closet / other room full of Lucas's shit.
Right, yeah.
Few choice pieces up, but there's like 6 whole boxes just jammed with stuff.
It's overflowing.
And Lucas always not Lucas, but Lucas's personal assistant always forwards all of Lucas's press releases. So they got all those too.
I have a suggestion for the city name, the town name. How does everyone feel about Tawny's Bay?
Tawny's Bay.
Ooh,
Tawny's
I love a
Bay.
damn
I
bay.
say yes,
I love a bay.
but you've got to tell me who it was named after and why.
Ooh, okay.
And how do you spell it?
TAWNY.
Tawny's Bay.
Yeah, Tawny's Bay. I think it was named after this place, was discovered, quote unquote, discovered, by, I'm gonna guess Puritans or Spanish or something. Tawny was the name of the main ship that first landed in the bay.
I cannot tell you how much I'm 100% behind anything named after a cat. I will just say yes.
I accept colonialism as long as it has a cat's name on it.
Any other questions for me or anyone else?
Who still talks? Do any of us still talk?
Ooh,
Andrea talks at Fern regularly.
amazing. Yes. That's nice, dear.
And it's been the same for the past 20 years. It's just Andrea will show up and just like, hey, do you have any more boxes? Like, are you sure that the ending isn't in there? Like, I just can't find the manuscripts.
She's made like these watercolor signs that go directly like through the shelves for you.
Beautifully painted. This gorgeous side.
And I think we said that Andrea has spoken to Jacob.
I'm involved with the rest of you via social media. I follow all of you. I like things frequently. I never talk to you, but I'm always liking your posts. That's my only interaction.
I think Rory and Lucas would have had the occasional lunch to talk about, business.
That's when I asked you if you'd come to the reboot.
Yeah. I think it's tell me if this goes against what you envisioned for Rory, but it was framed as like a, hey, let's get together, let's hang out a bit. And then turns out it's a business meeting.
Every time. We can sit and be like, this time we're just gonna get lunch and talk about our lives. And it takes 15 minutes. Like we try.
Yeah.
But that's just what our lives are now.
Yeah.
How are you? My cat's good anyway.
Yeah, you saw the spread of things, shows I'm on. It's always posted.
Yeah, and they're good.
Other than that, I'm not really doing much or working on myself or anything,
Not working on myself.
That hit me hard.
Anything else?
I have the name for the reboot, which is the Water Carriers.
It's just a little different. It's so close.
Can Deliria send Rory emails every so often, just being like, hey, just a reminder, that was still my project? And then for everyone else, is it okay if I send you all Facebook invites to my events that I occasionally have?
No one has ever asked anyone for permission to send a Facebook invite, so the answer is yes.
I actually go, and it does, yeah. And if because Lucas is trying to reconnect in that sense, like, oh, it just turned out to be a business meeting with Rory. Maybe this will be, an actual connection.
And it's a business meeting with Deliria instead.
Facebook invites for a one-on-one business meeting.
Gee.
It's one of those MLM parties. You show up and it's just a bunch of product on tables.
Yeah.
Right.
They barely feed you.
Yeah.
Generally, what is everybody's followership on social media?
Jacob's got a respectful 2 to 3 grand, I would say. Known, but never really gets past that kind of in-network, the field amount, some fans, but really just who he knows in the business.
Does Jacob have a bigger LinkedIn follower count than he does on
Sadly,
any other platform?
yes. Yes. Oh my God, that's so depressing. But
That's
yes, his highest
status.
follower count is on LinkedIn. Jacob spends most of his time online on LinkedIn.
That's
Oh,
awful.
that's so sad.
It's so sad. He actually cultivates it. He writes like a blog about his work.
Oh, no. I know
Yeah.
those people.
Good
I know people who do that. Ouch.
Rory's like personal accounts probably has like 5,000 followers, and it's mostly just business contacts and that networking. It's not like people are fans of Rory's cool sales that she does. But I do think she also has like a faceless jokes and memes and commentary like Twitter, and that has like 30,000 followers, and it is her prized possession.
And you're very secretive. Like no
Yep.
one knows who runs it. You keep that locked down. You've done a couple interviews for it, but you won't give names, and you use like different phone numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the one where I get to tell jokes, and no one knows it's me.
I think Deliria has, what is it, on Facebook you can have like a max of 5,000 friends, right?
Right.
Okay, max of 5,000 friends, but it's all just like people that, you know, they don't feel quite, like they feel like it would be rude for them to be like, oh, you know, I'm rejecting.
You hit that 5,000 like 3 years ago. You've
Right.
been maxed out for 3 years and just trying to find room to free up once in a
Yeah.
while. Yeah.
I imagine Deliria both has like a personal Facebook page and the public Facebook page.
The public has like 100.
Yeah, because you never do it. You just set it up. It's like a complete repost of everything there. It's just like it's like it occasionally reposts an Instagram photo, and that's really all your interaction with it. Yeah. If you win an award, you might go post something. Otherwise, what are you gonna do with it?
Right, exactly.
I think Andrea is probably in the like 50,000, like, you know, big fandom presence. Mostly like just like uplifts and reshares and make sure that everyone gets their spotlight.
Lucas is on track to break 1 million followers by the end of the year.
Incredible.
That's pretty on track. I'm trying to decide if I want Lucas to have like a private account where he can just kind of like shoot the shit like Rory does, but no, I don't think he does. I think he tries to be his authentic self on the one
Everything's
platform.
that account.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. And it's like, it's a weird mix because like maybe 15 to 20% is like this core group that got in because of the show, and the rest of it's stuff you've made on your own. So you've always got this weird core group you want to keep happy, but the majority of your stuff is now for this new audience that maybe never even listened to the old show.
I always had, like, whenever asked about it, like, I always had to preface it like, I'm not there yet.
Right, which is the most frustrating thing to hear. Like I got my like 3,000 people, and you always feel like, well, I haven't made it yet. And I'm like, oh, great, makes me feel fantastic, Kappa. I mean, Lucas, sorry.
All right, I want to remind everyone about Bleed.
What about Fern?
Yeah, Fern is on Facebook and connected to all of your real accounts. And, you know, she just, you know, likes everything, and then we'll give you a little sticker, like always encouraging you. She is not on anything else, but the students who she mentors and have come through the school have started kind of a legacy meme account, just like a very wholesome, like, today's Fern,
Aww.
Fern friends.
The Weather Ferncast.
Yeah, there you
Amazing.
go. The Weather Fern
The
cast.
Weather Ferncast.
And it's just like pictures of her doing things around the radio station, and they've just like put text over it. It's just very wholesome.
There's a Fern Cam account on TikTok, and it's just like the fan cam of just Fern just looking a little concerned.
She's just shuffling around the radio station
I
with a
love
webcam.
Fern
yeah.
so much.
I know, Fern's great. Like everyone else, fuck them, but I like Fern a lot.
And I love Fern so bad.
I'm so ready for Fern to just
She's your
save us.
guest.
What a delight. Jacob sent you all a package as your invitation back into the game. I, in reality, also sent you all a package. Inside that package was a note and a small box. Haley got a few extra things. What I want to know is, which of you opened the small box? Andrea, did you open the small box in your package?
Andrea will claim that he did not, but he definitely did. He will lie brazenly.
What strange phenomena has been occurring? Something you mostly dismissed as your imagination.
Bleeding followers?
Oh, just vanishing. Ever since you opened the box, your followers are just disappearing.
Yep.
Interesting. Deliria, did they open the box?
No. They got some mail and they just sort of let it pile and just decided not to open any of it.
I had to follow up with like emails to make sure you were going to be there. Lucas, did they open the box?
No, I don't think Lucas opened the box. He's put it on the little side table where you put your keys and pick up your keys every morning.
You look at it every morning.
Every morning.
There's that slow pan in with the camera.
This is the day I'm going to open it. When I get home, I'm going to grab this, open it. And I never do. And I never return to that thought and finish that line of thought when I come home.
Fern, did she open the box?
Fern most certainly opened the box. You know, back when the radio station started, it was full of packages for CDs and records and tapes. But as the digital age progressed, less and less mail arrived. And something, you know, it was differently shaped from all the others. So she went for it immediately.
What strange phenomena has Fern been experiencing ever since?
Her voice is changing.
Interesting.
Sounds like she's she's maybe had a sore throat or going through changes, but she's a, late 20s woman.
But your voice is not enough where it's really concerning to everyone around you, but you notice it.
Mm-hmm.
Rory, did they open a box?
I think it took a lot of considering. It probably took a few days of just holding the box and then putting it back down and walking away. But yes, she did open the box.
What strange phenomena has Rory been experiencing?
Rory can feel, but there's no visible signs, that the skin around her face is peeling as though some sort of face mask is slowly detaching. Like one of those really thick masks that gets into the pores.
Yeah.
It's the sensation of, and she can feel it with her hands.
But it feels like you should be able to grab an edge of it, and you're constantly grabbing for it, but it's just never there.
It feels like if I just tried hard enough, I could pull off my face.
Ah!
And I'm not gonna ask anyone else to touch it, because, oh, how crazy. Oh, I can't tell somebody else I'm feeling that.
I think I'm gonna have to change mine, because losing followers doesn't sound quite as creepy as my voice is changing and my face is falling off.
All right, what do you want yours to be?
Well, I think it's going to be in the same realm, but it's not just losing followers. There's one specific follower that keeps following every day. And it's always the same name and it's never there. Notification, such and such has followed you, and it's the same such and such every time.
You even at one point was like, enough of this, and blocked them, and the next day it was the same follower with the number 1.
Yep.
The digital equivalent of like hearing footsteps behind you.
Yep.
And you turn around, there's no one there.
Yep.
Oof.
Yeah, there's always no banner, no profile picture, not following anyone else.
Yep.
Just you.
My name is Alex Valente, pronouns he, him. I am a bisexual bilingual Britallion on Musqueam, Squamish, and Silvertooth land. I have been a cleaner, publishing intern, waiter, scare actor, editor, university lecturer, language teacher, shop manager, and more usually, a translator. I can be found in tiny writing on the credits page of books when publishers remember to name the translator, and lurking in TTRPG spaces when people forget I'm there.
I'm Banana. My pronouns are she, they, and he, and I'm a tabletop game designer and writer. I'm also the owner and co-founder of the RPG and small box board game publishing company, Game and a Curry. I love horror movies and cheesecake a lot. You can find me at Banana Chan Games on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, all of the social media.
I'm Jen De La Vega. You might know me as Vivian Lakewood on the Shadowrun podcast Fun City, Merkesa Maldar on the Still Fleet miniseries Float City, and The Keeper on Cozy City, a Brindlewood Bay mystery. I also happen to be a chef and cookbook author based in Brooklyn, New York. You can find me online as Randwiches. That's the word sandwiches, but replace the S with an R.
My name is Haley Whipjack, and I'm an educator, podcaster, and a passionate fan of making fun things. I am a co-host, game master, and a player on TTRPG Actual Play podcast Unprepared Casters, while also pursuing personal creative projects on my TikTok and YouTube channels.
My name is Christian, better known as Kappa in most online spaces. I use he, him pronouns. I am a performer, producer, and writer in the TTRPG space. I've produced, performed in, and organized events with Friends Roll Dice, Roll20, Asians Represent, Utopia, and many other groups and organizations to forward the work in uplifting marginalized identities in the TTRPG space. Occasionally, I'll appear as a guest in actual play streams, podcasts, and talk shows to lend my voice and expertise in storytelling and character-driven narratives.
And my name is Aram. I'm a producer, designer, photographer, and voice actor living in a quiet town off Lake Michigan. I'm a co-founder of the storytelling podcasting collective Dead Ghost Productions, co-host of the Dungeons & Dragons podcast Kill Every Monster, and the creator of God's Fall and of Now and Then. I also did the editing and sound design for Replay. You can find all of my shows and all of my social media at aram.gay.
Thank you for joining us for the launch of Dead Ghost Productions and the premiere of Replay. We are a queer-run and owned studio and a proud member of the Realm Network.
Keep up to date with Replay and all of our projects by following us on Twitter at DeadGhostPro. Find all of our social media and all the shows we produce at deadghostpro.com. Listen to the next episode of Replay right now by signing up for a free 7-day trial at patreon.com/deadghostpro.